Is CapCut actually ruining editing? Many people have their own opinions, and I need you to hear me out on this one, because I've said a lot about CapCut on this channel, but there's a question that I never actually answered directly. Is CapCut actually ruining editing? Not just as a business, not just the app, but is it actually making the editing space worse? Like, are the edits worse because of CapCut? Are the editors worse because of CapCut? Is the community worse because of CapCut? And I've been avoiding this question because I genuinely didn't have a clean answer, but I think I do now, and some of you are gonna hate it. Before we go deep into the nucleus of this question, I need you to understand and think alongside me. So first off, what would ruining editing actually mean? Like, what does that tangibly mean? So ruining editing means two different things to two different people. You've got argument A, which is that CapCut lowered the quality bar so much that the market is now flooded with bad edits. And you've got argument B, which is that CapCut created so many new editors that the good ones got buried. And both of these are worth examining separately. And if you've been watching the channel, you already know that I have opinions about flooded markets and what bad edits actually mean. There are many arguments that we can have for each one, and there's definitely some good arguments against both of these cases. So we've got one side, which is case number one, for the people that agree that CapCut is actually ruining editing. So there's multiple things that construct this entire argument, and we're gonna go through each one specifically. So there's something that I call the template effect of CapCut. So editors who only know how to use templates can execute but cannot create, and that's a real skill gap that CapCut created at scale. There are so many editors right now that simply use templates because it's just easier to use, but they actually don't know how to make these effects by themselves. So they're reliant on finding these templates to then make edits. But the thing is, when you have multiple templates, you're not the only one that's going to be using these templates, which means that others are also using it, which leads to the market being flooded by a bunch of editors that are all using the same effects, simply because they don't know how to create their own. And we could also argue that it's because of the laziness of said editors. And this leads to the copy problem. Because CapCut templates look the same, there's thousands of edits that are identical, and I mean identical. And so the space generally became harder to navigate because so much of it looks the same. And then you've got people wondering why their edits aren't performing well. Even if you're not using templates, half of the time you're going to be following the trend, and that's not the way to go if you want to differentiate yourself from other editors. I will keep saying this in every single one of my videos because I truly believe this. The sake of going viral just for the sake of going viral is not going to lead you anywhere. I promise you that. You might make an edit that has already gone viral for others, and then you copy that thing, you get some views and you somewhat go viral, but those views are not going to stick around. Like, you actually need to realize that it's not going to last. So you can copy all the trends you want and you can keep getting a bunch of views, but realize that the next edit that you make is never going to go viral again because your entire page is reliant on trends. And so if there's no good trends, your entire thing is cooked. And it also leads to a standard problems, because when the floor drops, the expectations drop. And so viewers who only consume CapCut edits have calibrated to a lower quality bar, which affects what everyone else has to work against. Like I said, if you have 100 template edits that are not the best quality, it doesn't promote any creativity, and so the bar drops. Not only the creativity, but the actual quality of said edits. So now you have a bunch of people that are making terrible edits, and so people that watch these edits that aren't into editing get used to these types of edits. But you could also see on the other side and think that it's a good thing, because if you are a good editor and the bar is so low, it shouldn't take too much for you to build a decent following off of your skill. And like I said, this also leads to the editor identity problem. People who use and rely on CapCut templates to make content are calling themselves editors, and whether that's accurate is a debate, but the label is getting diluted. Because what does it actually mean to be an editor? A lot of people will consider themselves an editor, but not many people can agree on the term. At what threshold can you be considered an actual editor? And all of these points tie back to the fact that CapCut is ruining editing. Because now if we can't even define what an actual editor is, there's a big problem. And half of this stuff can be attributed to CapCut alone, not even attributing it to all the other mobile editing softwares. And that is a big problem. Now that we fully developed the case for yes, CapCut is actually ruining editing, I think that it's actually time that we talk about the case for no, it isn't ruining editing. And like I said, both sides have some valid points, and when you hear these next points, I think it's gonna throw your entire balance off. The first point is the volume argument. More people making edits means more people engaging with editing as a space, which means more views, more community, more demand for people who are actually good. A lot of people would say that yes, CapCut has marketed itself for creators and editors that are trying to make content in the simplest way possible. They can edit their videos anywhere and quickly. So by having more people making these edits, it means that there's more people that would see the editing space as a whole. About 2 weeks ago, I had made a video about why bad edits go viral. And in that video, I talked about the fact that non-editors are watching actual edits. So when they see a bunch of visual effects, they're kind of confused and overwhelmed, which makes good edits, to editors of course, fail. But then you see bad edits, quote unquote, that have less crazy visuals, but are just enough for non-editors to understand. So now if you have way more of these non-editors join the editing community, they can understand what is a good edit and what is a bad edit simply from the level of skill that is required to make them and how long it takes. And if we have that, that would mean that there's way more good editors being rewarded for what they do, rather than non-editors supporting bad editors simply because they don't know anything about editing. And with that being said, make sure to like and subscribe to help the channel out. You watching the entire video and leaving these comments about your experiences and opinions really make my day. And for those of you who want to quote unquote know how to not get AE, then go to my Instagram page, link in description, and make sure to follow me and like the post on the page so I can see your message. If you're watching these videos, it means you actively want to improve our video creation as a whole, whether it's edits, content creation, or anything that requires editing, which shows your determination to win in life. So thank you for being here. I appreciate every single one of you for rocking out with me, and let's get back into it. You've also got the entry point argument. So the editors who came in through CapCut and then grew are real. They exist. The tool didn't stop them. Like I said in my last video, most people that started editing on CapCut moved on to different softwares and are still editing in the space as of now. So can we really say that CapCut is ruining editing if it's still keeping editors in the editing space? They might not be using CapCut, but they're still in the space. So to say that CapCut is actually ruining editing as a whole is kind of crazy. You've also got the blame argument, which is that CapCut gave people a tool, and what people did with it is not the tool's fault. So you can't blame CapCut for bad edits, because it's like blaming After Effects for bad MoGraph. It just doesn't make sense. We could say that CapCut has responsibility, but at the end of the day, it's simply an app, and what people do with the app is not up to them. You could take the MHA fandom, for example. The anime My Hero Academia simply just posts the anime for people to watch. Now, the fan base that is built off of that, whether they're complete weirdos, that wasn't My Hero Academia's fault. It's the people that are watching this show that are considered weird. And it's the same thing for CapCut. The fact that the editors that use CapCut are like this isn't CapCut's fault entirely. And we've talked about this before. The real problem isn't the quality, it's that quality and performance are just not the same metric. Because if you want a video to perform well, you need to think about the algorithm of the specific platform that you're posting your edit on. It doesn't rely on the quality. Again, half of the people that are watching your edits are non-editors, so they don't understand what it takes to make these high quality edits. All they see is the edit cool? Does it make me feel something? And am I overwhelmed or not by the edit? That's all they see. And so this leads me to the actual answer. No, CapCut is not ruining editing. CapCut's business decisions are ruining CapCut, not editing. So the editing space was never going to stay small forever. The growth was always coming, and CapCut just happened to be the accelerant. CapCut saw the market, realized that people needed a quick editing software that would be able to fulfill their needs, and CapCut simply capitalized on that. It's pretty funny. CapCut capitalized. Man, shut your... But what it did create though is a new problem. The gap between people who understand editing and people who just use tools is wider than it's ever been, because the gap is actually the opportunity. So if you're watching this channel, you're on the right side of it. You're not just somebody that has the tools but doesn't improve. And listen, the editors who are going to win in the next 3 years are the ones who understand the craft, not just the tools. And the craft would mean that you understand the algorithm, the audience that you're trying to attract, the editing skills, being able to do it, the execution, all these things that require extensive knowledge and expertise. If you're watching this channel, it means that you're trying to achieve that level of expertise, and it's exactly why you're part of my community. So I want to give you a round of applause. You deserve your props and your flowers if you're really putting your effort in. And just know that if you keep watching my videos, you're gonna keep improving, and that's a promise. And CapCut cannot take that away from you. Make sure to comment cheeseburger to confuse all the other people that haven't watched till the end. Like, subscribe, because we're trying to reach 10K by the end of summer. And I recommend you watch this video, as it'll explain why the worst editors get more views than you. Sprint to success.